She said, so when are we going to start?
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, we've been doing this for 12 hours. She's like, are you serious? Then I asked her, how do you feel? And she said, I feel clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started crying because she felt so much better. So I know y'all thinking I'm getting off subject about the little kid, but a couple weeks after we left, she came home, and this was its way of trying to come back in, for the invitation. She walked into her house, and lo and behold, there's a little girl, about 8 or 9 years old, wearing really beat up clothes, sitting in the middle of her living room, and she looked around. She's like, "What the heck is going on?" And it looked like the little girl had been in a fire. Her clothes were charred up, and she's like, "Honey, where's your mommy and daddy?" She was legitimately worried about this little girl. And she called us and said, "There's a little girl here. I don't know what to do." I said, "Here's what you do." I said, "You tell her, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave and not come back." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "This is not what you think. This is a demonic entity trying to gain its way back in again." And she's like, "No." She actually picked the little girl up and wiped her face off. She took a towel and wiped her face, and soot was on the towel. This is how real it was.
Wow.
And I told her, "You need to tell her now, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave and don't come back." And I heard her. She said, "Honey, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave and don't come back." And the little girl just looked at her, and she said, "Okay." And she hugged her, and she just vanished. Never came back.
Wow.
That is crazy. That's absolutely nuts. But people claim that this stuff isn't real. This is how these things can gain ways into your life, even as simple as coming to you in the guise of a little child. Who wouldn't want to reach out to a little child? I know I would.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they can get you. They can come in the smallest ways and come in and wreak havoc.
You're absolutely right. We ran into a case, and in fact, Leon, you're familiar with this, where we actually was dealing with a child. It was the actual center point of the activity. And it was in Opelika. I'll say that.
Is it the one that I passed y'all?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I honestly felt like that was a negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we found the reason that it was negative. But when we first started, that child ran around like the Energizer Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting reactions off the chart. I mean, all the power was out and everything. We were getting K2 hits like you would not believe, EVPs. The male was jumping to 666. The temperature on it was 666 a lot. And, I had to take a double, what? Wait a minute. No, that can't be right. And, I would go out of the room and the temperature would get different. And it's an open floor, open floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm actually leaving the room. I'm just going to a different part of the same room I was in.
Yeah.
And I go back and it would be a different temperature. But as long as the child was up running around, we had all this. Well, we had the parents and the child to sit on the couch, and we were doing our investigation and that type of thing. And I just noticed that everything got quiet. All responses stopped. We had no more K2 hits. We heard no more sounds. No temperature fluctuations or any energy fluctuations with the male. Even our spirit box quit working. I mean, it worked, but I mean, we got no responses and stuff like that. And it's just like like a switch. You cut it off.
It just died.
Just died. Well, we found out that there was a book in the house, and there was some negative things that was within the book, and there was some meditation and stuff over the book. And the book was actually set up in the child's room, or right adjacent to the child's room.
Oh, man.
And, so we left, and which I am still in contact with that family, and they have moved out of the house. And the other day, the husband called me, which we've become pretty good friends, and he was like, "Hey, look, bud, I got to talk with you." And I said, "Okay, cool, talk." And he says, "Now look," he says, "I'm at a client's house, and I'm working, and he says I'm the only one here, and things are happening here." He says, "So can things follow me?" I said, "Absolutely." Yes. I said, they can follow you. They can attach to things that you carry out of the house. I said, that's why we were wanting to go and do a cleansing before you guys moved, because anything that's there, we wanted to make sure you left it there before you guys moved. And so he says, well, he called the child's name, which I know the child's name. I'm just not going to mention it on air. And he says we were going out to eat, and he said they were actually on the way home after they had eaten, and the child was sitting in the back seat, and said the child looked up at his parents and said, "My friends are coming over." And my buddy looked at him and said, "What friends?" He says, "The friends that I had at the other house."
They're back.
You know who's attached to it, right?
Yes.
The little girl.
And when he told me that, and I said, "You gotta be kidding me." He says, "No." He said that child acted like he was an adult. He was so serious. His friends are coming over to visit him. And I said, "Well," "you know what we're going to have to do, right?" He says, "I know." And I said, "So they're portraying themselves as other children." And obviously there's multiple.
Yeah.
And when we were there doing our initial investigation, he actually pointed out 2 children that were standing in the corner of the room. Of course, we couldn't see them. And I, of course, I did not do any provocation or anything. I did speak with them. I tried to attempt to make contact just to see if I could get a response, in which I didn't. Of course, I didn't provocate, but I used a stern voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that way they knew, that I'm not just any person.
Yeah.
And I was just taking control of the situation. And
Yeah.
but that worried me whenever this child is pointing out these children. And when he tells his parents that his friends are coming over. Really? Okay. Well, we need to stop his friends from coming over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I told the client. So he said he was going to get back with me. So everybody needs to pray for this family. Of course, I'm not giving any names or anything like that. They're some super good friends, super good people.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to do things right. And but the whole children thing gets me too, Leon and Mary. I have a soft heart for kids, and I have Bagoodle youngins and Bagoodle grandkids, and I could have a whole football team if I wanted, and but so the whole, I'm pretty sure that I would react a little bit differently if a child walks up. But now, honestly speaking, if I left here and went to work and come home and there was a child that I didn't know in my house, red flags would go up everywhere.
Yeah. Yes, that's why I told her, you tell that thing to go away now.
Right. I mean, and now that I'm in a position that I am, and the job that I do, oh yeah, they'd be some. I would get holy mad. You've heard people preacher tell you get holy mad. Getting mad might be a sin, but getting holy mad is not. And so I would get holy mad. They would be some things going out of my house.
That's right. You know what? I tell my clients, when I'm trying to build up their faith and trying to get them back into the fight, especially the ones that's been beaten down and they think is no hope. I tell them, look, it's okay to get mad. These things have come into your house and wreaked havoc. They have come into a place where they're not wanted. It is okay to be righteously mad. It is okay. That's where your faith will kick in, and that's where you will add a light, like another battery to your faith, to a point where you are now wanting them things to leave, and no way you will basically get to a point where you will righteously just start kicking them out the door, and that's how we get. Whenever I go to do a deliverance, I pray first, and then after that, I righteously get mad. Why? Because there comes times when during a deliverance, it'll manifest through the person, and we're kind of like butting heads. It's trying to make me to cower down, and then I don't cower down. Then through the power of God, I make it cower down. So it's like a back and forth battle, till the point where it realizes I am one stubborn person. I mean, you can ask my wife. I'm probably about the most stubborn thing you've ever met in your life. Once I got something made up in my mind, I'm not going to stop until I get it. And that's how it is when we do the deliverances. Sometimes it can be a nice, quiet deliverance, but sometimes it'll manifest out through the person, and it'll start cussing you out and all this stuff. That's why whenever you go to these cases, if you have any sin in your life, you got to confess it. Go to confession. If you're a Catholic, if you're a Protestant, confess it to God, because I have seen it firsthand. If you don't, that's the ground it needs for it to beat you, and it will call out every one of your sins to you by date and time.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I've seen it firsthand. I had a case where this paranormal team asked me to come help them, and apparently they didn't do what I told them to do. None of them went to confession. None of them confessed their sins in any way, shape, form, or fashion. All